Welcome to the new podcast Start Inspiring series. We are super excited to be sharing this brand new series with you. And today I've got founder Kelly Wakeman that's joining me today to talk about some really hot topics and share her own insights with you. The first topic we're going to be covering is around propelling your own growth. And I know, Kelly, this is a subject that's really important to you. And a key message that you wanted to get across today was actually trusting your gut.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm probably old enough and wise enough now to do exactly that. So I think my younger self and our more Western way of working is always about data, logic, science, evidence. And I think I've spent a lot of my time as a leader in a business perhaps thinking or feeling I should do something different and then not acting on it. And as I've got older and the more I trust my gut, my intuition, which we are now understanding is our third brain. So we have our head, first brain, we have our heart, and our gut. You know, the likes of John Hopkins, they're starting to really realise that your gut is a brain. It is telling you some really important stuff. And in many cases, your gut instinct, as we all call it, your third brain is faster than the other two. And so I'm really playing with that as a leader in a business, but also personally. And it's really, really interesting because when I don't trust my gut, so many times I realise I probably should have done because it's telling me something that I need to listen to.
When was the moment in your career that you can actually sit back now and reflect and say, was that turning point for you where actually you thought, enough's enough, I can see a different direction that I want to go in? Can you think about what that looked like and what that turning point was for you to take a different direction?
Yeah, it's really easy for me actually. So I qualified as a professional and personal coach, and through that process you get so much coaching yourself. And so what you learn to do is turn inwards rather than outwards for the answers. And there were a few moments where I realised that what I'd been feeling, what I'd been thinking actually were correct, and I shouldn't keep overriding it with my brain, my head brain, if you like, to try and find quantifiable answers. And so when I've started to then, as a result of that coaching, lead from my gut, from my intuition, it's definitely changed the way I am as an individual and the trajectory for myself and the business actually.
And I think also it's not easy to do. It takes such courage to actually trust your gut. And it sounds like you did that. How did it feel? How was that process for you?
It's really interesting. So if I think really the biggest moment I trusted my gut was when I walked away from a senior exec role, really, you know, all the bells and whistles that come with that, the large salary, the car, the bonus, the security, if you like.
So everything that you thought you'd been building and wanting before.
Absolutely.
Right,
and then
okay.
through that coaching process, realising that I really wanted to run my own business. And for many, many reasons, which I won't go into huge detail, my head, my logic kept telling me that wasn't the right step to take for me. And that actually here you are with this security, this huge salary, an organisation that you enjoy working with as well. I was having fun. But I had in my coaching a bigger calling. I have experienced in the workplace really awesome leadership. And then I've also been at the receiving end of toxicity and unacceptable leadership. And through that coaching, I realised that actually I had the experience, the knowledge, the capability to go help the world, help leaders create cultures and organisations that were healthy for the people in it and high performing. And I know you can have both. And if I sat in that one organisation, I could continue to do that there, and that was great. But in that one coaching moment was like, no, your gut, you're here to help as many people create this environment before your time is up on this planet at least.
So you talk a little bit there, Kelly, about trusting your own gut. You pretty much had everything you thought you'd been working towards. Then you reflect, look forward and think, this is not right for me. This is not my calling. I want to go out there and I want to make a difference. And I guess in that coaching moment, on reflection, who was it that inspired you to take that leap of faith? I imagine it was a number of things, a number of situations that led you to that point. But is there a point where you can remember, right, I'm not going to do this, but who inspired you, do you think, along that journey?
Gosh, so many people have an influence and an impact as you learn and grow as an individual. I think if I really take it back to that aha moment in the coaching, it was actually the poorer leadership that really led me to feel momentum for this. So I worked in an environment, and I'm not sure I understood at the time, but I worked in an environment that was quite unhealthy. A number of senior leaders in that organisation, pretty good people, I would say, were failing. They weren't doing very well. You could see them kind of diminish in confidence. And kind of I saw a few people go through that, and the very exec top table were really unprofessional about individuals. And I think two things happened there. One, the spotlight then turned on me. So I'd seen a couple of people go through that. It was my turn. And then I remember sitting one evening in the bar with the most senior leaders in the HR function. And they were talking about some of my colleagues in a way that did not align with my values, and I did not think was very professional at all. That environment, I ended up in quite a bad place, actually. So
would you say that the environment almost became toxic?
Yeah, definitely toxic. It was, I was crying on a regular basis, and that's not who I am. I do cry. I'm human, but not over work unless it's. But I was in a mess, and I ended up starting to feel like I couldn't get out of that situation, because how was I going to go for an interview with somebody? So I got a coach, Liz Beck, most phenomenal woman, and actually that's when we started to unpick that work and say, actually, that's not a healthy environment. It was so against my values.
And it also sounds like it wasn't just one thing. It was several layers, probably building up over time, and then that one thing happens and you think, no, this is not right. And it sounds like that moment happened when you were sat with the colleagues, having a drink and listening to what they're saying around people that you're working with, people that are working for you, and thinking, no, enough's enough, I'm not doing that anymore. So it sounds like the person that really inspired you was actually in your own coaching experience. And so tell me a bit about then how that's shaped the person that you are today.
I think there's moments in your life where you make a really important decision. And I think, actually, as you were saying that, I was thinking, yes, because before that, I wasn't part of that exec team. When I moved up into that, I was like, okay, now I'm part of that. And I it's one thing looking at it and saying that's not really acceptable, and a second thing being part of that. And so I think that moment was a real decision-making moment for me to say, that's not who I'm going to be as a leader. I think the coaching then allowed me to go, I know what good looks like. I've experienced what good looks like. I've implemented what good looks like on a number of occasions. Now, how do I help other organisations do that?
And that must have massively impacted how you work with other people now, having been through that experience yourself, seen almost what bad looks like and what you don't want going forwards. How has that changed then and evolved how you work with your clients?
Well, clients and our own team, our purpose is to make work for everyone. And I don't mean that in a fluffy way. I don't mean like everybody has to have a really awesome time at work, although that's helpful. I mean, it works for the people in the team, it works for the leaders, it works for the customers, it works for the profit. We are running businesses, we are commercial, but actually we are there such a huge amount of our time. We should make workplaces energetic, and we should help everybody that is part of your team feel like they belong. And actually, if they don't belong, I'm a huge advocate in being really clear about that.
If you take your core values as well, inspire, challenge and grow, what that for me demonstrates is that you're looking always about forward thinking and building some kind of level of momentum in what you're doing, not happy to stand still, happy to continue to be curious about things. And it sounds like that's not just what you're delivering to your clients, but what you instill in your own team as well, you know, practicing what you're preaching, having been there before. So tell me a little bit then about if you've been able to stand in those shoes of the professionals that you are now working with as, you know, your people partners to them. It sounds worlds apart from some of the associates or consultants that we often hear and see. You are actually standing shoulder to shoulder with these people in business and saying, I understand what you're trying to do here. I understand what you're going through here. Tell me a little bit about how you support your businesses that you work with by being able to actually have a really strong relationship with them in their organisation.
So I think I've got the experience, so that's kind of tick one, but I think lots of consultants have experience, right? I think for me, it's having worked alongside a number of consultants and working out what I value and therefore what I think others will value. I almost joke, we still work in-house. We just work in lots of different houses, and that's absolutely our approach. We will care about our client's team and our client's performance as much as we would our own. I think the point at which you're invited after work for drinks, you're invited to the Christmas parties, you know that you've been really influential and important to that organisation or the individuals in it. And so it's a funny way to measure it, but we just know they feel like we're part of their extended team.
And I know that from previous conversations we've had, the behavioural science impact is so important to you. What I love is every single time we meet, you're always telling me about a different book that you've read, a different podcast that you've listened to, you know, expanding your understanding about what makes people tick, and also, and it gives me goosebumps to say, you know, what actually makes you the best version of yourself. And I know that behavioural science is something that's so close to your heart in why you do what you do as well.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, that's the values, right? If I'm going to inspire people, I need to be inspirational. I need to feel inspired, really. I like to challenge myself. I don't think any of us get better by being in our comfort zone. And if I can grow my knowledge and experience, I can grow others. And I think specifically the neuroscience, positive psychology, a number of other things that I am really into and continue, and, you know, definitely a lifelong learner. We don't have to have a fixed mindset. We have the choice to have a growth mindset. Our neuroplasticity, it can continue to evolve, and we can make conscious decisions about how we want to turn up, how we want to feel, how we want to think. And if we're prepared to do that work, we absolutely can be the best versions of ourselves.
That must be an absolute game changer for an organisation. And to be part of that conversation, you know, initially to ignite that possibility and that curiosity of that spark for what is possible and what can be possible must just, well, certainly for me, must just make you feel amazing, continuing to make a difference for people and changing lives. Very, very special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think doing it on an individual level is very powerful, and then doing it on an organisational level, you know, all those small little fires that you talk about, those little sparks together, and helping leaders to do that, I think's an absolute privilege. Leadership is a privilege, and I think for us to be able to give people an inspiring, challenging place to work is the best gift we can give them.
And so I suppose if there was one piece of advice that you'd be giving to yourself, going back, obviously you're walking the talk, you've been there, you've done this, you're sharing this every day with clients, you're making a massive difference to organisations, and you mentioned leadership there as well. But if there was one piece of advice that you'd be giving to a business owner that you might be talking to, that I guess is a lesson that you've learned, what do you think that would be?
I think the biggest lesson I would give is almost counterintuitive. So in organisations where we're all trying and striving for growth, for accelerating execution, actually I would say go slow to go fast. Just slow down a moment, notice what's happening in your organisation, see if everybody is working in the same direction We talk a lot in Start Inspiring about velocity. And for me, if organisations just slow a moment to have a look at how clear they are being about the things that need to be done, the moments that matter, the most important value creating activities, and then they sense check, what is the energy like in their organisation? Is everybody inspired? Are they able to do the job? Have they got the right tools, equipment, experience? And therefore, with those two things together, are they getting real velocity, real momentum in the same direction from their team? If you go slow to go fast, I suspect you might even get to the end destination faster. I think we see a lot of chaos in organisations where people are unintentionally doing wrong things, or they're definitely coming to work to do their best job, but it's not all adding up to really create momentum and velocity.
I love that. And I guess really what you're saying then, working with Start Inspiring is helping you turn that chaos into calmness, into considered behaviours, that actually energy is sometimes, like you say, not moving forwards, it's standing and looking ahead.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and so many founders that we work with, or CEOs that we work with, they've built that company or joined that company for a real purpose. There's a real optionality for them, and they've got something that they really want to gift the world. And actually, it shouldn't feel as hard as it sometimes does. And it doesn't need to feel as hard as it sometimes does on all parts of the journey. I'm not saying we don't have to make difficult decisions as senior leaders, but we can make decisions that energise our organisation and actually make getting to that long-term goal much better for everyone, including themselves.
Absolutely. Well, Start Inspiring offer so many different levels of support. And I guess for me, what's lovely to know that if your business has lost momentum, Start Inspiring can help you wherever you are on that journey.
Absolutely.
So powerful. Thank you. Next time in our podcast series, we're going to be talking about how you can get clarity and how to unlock your potential. Thanks very much.